All right, hey everybody, Dan Fitzpatrick here, stockmarketmentor.com. And let's go into space here. I'm sure everybody knows about SpaceX. If you don't, you could look it up. So this opened at 150. I mean, that's what the price was, but as I recall, it kind of opened around 160-ish to the general public. Anyway, so you can see the stock has run up. This is the daily chart, and that'll be important in a minute. So you can see the stocks run clear up to 225. Um, I just between us girls here, I wanted to sell it. I bought it at the open because my wife wanted to own SpaceX from the opening day, as if you actually get coupons anymore and you can frame it, I guess. But anyway, so I bought SpaceX and was told that I'm only to sell it in the event that I choose to divorce her. So, in other words, it's locked up. Fine. So I buy this thing. It goes clear up to 220, but old Dan can't sell. He's itching to. Should have bought puts, but I was looking elsewhere. Anyway, so then this thing has come back down. The big volume, as you can imagine, is on the opening day. That's what it always is on IPOs. But what did it do? This thing came down and it held the 150 mark. Okay, we'll get rid of this. I want to get rid of all these numbers for now, maybe forever. So it held the 150 level. That means that there's definitely buyers here. And frankly, that kind of surprised me. I thought it would go much lower than that. But here it is, holding 150, and it's running back up here, okay, from bottom to top. Nice little 13, 14% move. And then this happens, okay? The wheels come off the wagon, right? Yeah, that's true to a point. But this is what I want to do. I want to take you a little bit more granular into the 1 hour chart. And you can see, we'll take this up, just regular market. So you'll see what's happened here. Over the last several days, like a week or so, this had been gradually getting into this volatility squeeze area. And then back here at the magic 2 o'clock hour on Monday, this started to run up. Okay. And then now that's what I call a phase one. It's a three-phase volatility squeeze move where the first phase is obviously when the stock moves up. The second phase is when the correction happens, and it could happen at 2%. It could happen at 2,000%. But at some point, that initial spurt ends, and then we get a retracement. And then at that point, when we get the retracement, and for those of you playing along at home, that would be this. When we get this retracement, now we really find out what's going on with the stock. We really find out whether there's demand where there was before, whether there is a quote second bite at the apple group of buyers. And so what we've got now is a test that should be quite interesting tomorrow, because this did not close, didn't really fall below 150 except for a cup of coffee here and here. But now it's come back down to this level. And so what we really want to be looking for, if you're a big SpaceX guy, is we want to look for a move back up here, and then one that would ultimately run above this level, we'll say 170. So if this thing can get like 15 points higher, and if is a big word, but if it can get 15 points higher, I think we can see another move to the upside. Now, with that said, because I am a technician and I don't want to lose your respect, I'm not saying this is going to happen. Not at all. I have no damn idea. And this was pretty scary here on heavier than average volume today, for sure. So what we really need to see from a technical standpoint going into tomorrow, just so you know, is if this trades below 155, and if it does, it's probably going to be a gap. You know, people come home, they look at their stock and go like, holy crap, I got to sell. And then they sell right in the morning. But if it trades below 155 and then recovers, that could be a really good sign for this stock. But for now, this thing has come down from up here to down here. It's an 8% move on heavy volume. So there's a lot of pain in this chart right now. If the stock starts moving higher, It ain't going to do this. It'll be chopping around here and gradually get up. So anyway, that's what I got for you today. I don't think it's a trade now, but I think you know what to watch for if this turns into a trade. And one more time, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not a predictor. I'm saying if this starts running higher, then we can conclude that there's still buyers here at this level and it could very well run higher. So, anyway, that's all I have for you. And I will see you all next time. By the way, one more thing I forgot to tell you. You can get on Stock Market Mentor now for 14 bucks. Actually, excuse me, $7 for 14 days. This is a key time in the market. I'm just telling you, I spent quite a bit of time telling my members that, explaining to them and showing them how there absolutely is a rotation out of stocks that you probably don't know about. And so I encourage you, I invite you, I want you to become a member, if only for 14 days, just to check out what we've got. Okay. All right. Stockmarketmentor.com. Be there or be out of the winner's circle.